today's video I take a look at the milling machine vise, take it apart, see how much swarf and dirt has accumulated inside over the past year, and have a look at a few modifications that will make it easier to grease the main screw and the end cap. So let's go into the workshop and see how we do it. Today I'm looking at the milling machine vise. I've had this just over a year and I thought I'd take it to bits and see what condition it's like inside, whether it needs cleaning. Lift up the vise. I'll take this over to the workbench so we can have a closer look at it. So to strip this down, first of all I'll remove the rotating base. Some swarf in there, not too much, the bolt's out, and I'll wipe that down. Now that's the pivot point, and underneath we have a bolt here, this holds the main screw in, and then we have two bolts on each side. Off. As you can see where it rubs on this strip. Take out the two cap heads in this end. So this should be able to screw out. There's the main screw. You can see it's got some oil on, but not much. And this part here is dry, no grease or oil in there. And there's no way you can oil this, there's no oil or grease nipple on there. And there's no way you can get at the main thread. So if I lift the top off now, there's the inside, fairly clean. So this is the main thread. That just comes out as I've removed the washer off the bottom. That's the vise fully stripped down, except for the jaws, which I'm not going to remove. So the first thing I was thinking is, how can I get some grease into this thread? Now looking at these strips, you can see where the vise has been rubbing along the strip. Not so much on that one, but what's worrying me is these are just chopped off pieces of metal. They're not even machined. So what I would do is rub a file across there, draw a file at the top, remove the burrs from the holes and see if I can get a better finish on that. So I'll just run this file across the top. The first thing you see there's a burr on this side of the hole, which means that when this is bolted down flat it would tilt the part, and you can see that the parts have been painted black. You can see where the vise has rubbed up and down on this side, so that should be a bit flatter now. Well, that's the second one done. The next thing I want to look at is this. I need to get some grease into this part. There's two ways I could do that. Probably mill a flat on there and then put a grease nipple on the top, or drill a hole up the spindle and put a grease nipple on the end. So let's have a look at the base. Now that's the base. The main nut goes in there, then this goes on the top, and this goes in the end. So I have got the room here to put a grease nipple on the top, and I think that's the easiest way of doing it. If I drill a hole up this shaft, it needs to come right down to here, and then I'd have to put a cross hole in. So just by milling a flat on there and drilling through would fit a grease nipple on there. It's this part really that's the bigger problem. Well, let's come up with some sort of sketch, see what we can do. This is what I'm planning on making. Then on the nut side, all I need to do is drill a hole from the thread that holds the nut in position straight through into the screw. I've placed it in my 3-jaw chuck and I've tapped it till I can get the best reading. So that's it. From 0 to 1 or 10 on there is 1 thou, so it's running out about 1 thou. First of all, I want to put a 5mm drill down just to give me a start. You can see the drill bending there, trying to move, and what I'm trying to do is get the drill to be still so that when I put a 3mm drill in, it will guide it straight into the hole. Now I've got the start of the drill right, and that should drill straight into the thread. I'll speed it up. That's gone through into the cross thread. So any grease that goes down there will go into the thread. So I can fit this back in the vise and reassemble the vise until I get to the part where I need to bolt this down. So that's the bit we've just drilled right in the bottom there. This can go back into the vise. I can put the top back on. Now I'll just put some grease along the edges. That can go on there. I'll turn that over and I can put the strips back on. Put a bit of grease on the face, each side. Then I have the 2 strips to go on. One on this side, the one on this side. So the 4 bolts to go through. Right, so the next job is to make the bolt that goes in here to hold the main nut in position. The washer goes on the top there and the bolt goes through there. Now this bolt I'm making will have a hole straight through and a grease nipple on the end so that you can grease it from this side and the grease will go into the bore. Okay, this is the bar I want to use. It's an inch bar. But the problem I have is with this chuck, the bar will only go down that far and this much is sticking out. Now I know from experience that when I'm trying to turn this part down, there'll be a lot of vibration because of the overhang of the bar. So I'm going to change my chuck for the 4-jaw chuck. Put the board on. Put a piece of steel through the jaws. Just tap it. Now I do that rather than tapping on the chuck key, because you risk snapping the chuck key off at the bottom here, especially if it's a hardened, toughened key. Put the chuck on. Now it's important that you make sure the chuck is locked up against the face, because if you just screw it on like that and you machine, then when you stop the machine there's a possibility that this chuck will start to unscrew with the momentum that the chuck's built up. Just a quick tap to lock the chuck against the spindle. What I'm doing is just turning the chuck round till I get the highest reading, which is there. Slacken the back jaw off and then tighten the front jaw up, half the reading, and turn it round again till I get the next highest reading. Same again, slacken the back jaw off and tighten the front jaw up. It's just over a thou run out, so just check that all the jaws are tight. See how it runs. It's okay. Okay, I've just put my tool in the tool holder. You can see there it's way above. Bring it up till it touches, lock it, turn it round. Just put a centre hole in. And now I can use a small revolving centre to support the end of the bar. And turn this bar down to 8mm. The length of the screw needs to be 16mm. So if I touch the tool on the end, zero my cross slide or the digital readout, and then you can move up to 16mm. Check on the diameter. 2237.
Oh well, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time on Enots Engineering.